race time GG, it looked like it was a 12:04 for BFOB and a 12:09 for Retro Runner. Some of our race mods here were saying it might have been around the 12:12 range. Either way, under a 10-second difference there. So super close race.
Exactly, and it's the kind of thing, where you're one death apart, and it's how it could be. We saw that death made the difference kind of in the first race, and it's looking like it might do it again in the second one. And we'll be curious to see if both runners do a deathless run this time. We'll see how it goes.
Very nice. Just giving them the 60-second warning. Looks like they're both readied up, so we'll be going here in about a minute.
Yep, I'm excited. These races have been absolutely amazing. Again, these racers have been absolutely fantastic. All of them, not only these two, but all the 23 that originally signed up. It's been an amazing tournament, an amazing time. And it just shows you, the time, the effort that the community has really put together. And one of the things that, you and Finn said in the last match was how much the racers are encouraging, want the other one to succeed, and it's really not, the Retro Runner versus Beerful so much as it is the Retro Runner and Beerful versus Ninja Gaiden. The game can be such a troll, but a lot of how each of them do their runs are the two of them learning from each other, sharing strategies and sharing a lot of things to make everybody in the community better. It's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, 100%. We were, we'll talk a little bit more later, I guess, about how the NRL started, but that was part of that initial conversation was, the idea of what leaderboards do within a community of runners and what races can do for a community of runners. And I think I really like the fact that we bring everybody together like this, and we get, like I was talking about earlier, we get racers in these rooms. And as nervous as I'm sure they are, and as much as there is on the line with these runs, they're still in there telling each other good luck and good run, and they're in there bitching about the game and talking about which godhammers they got and where. I mean, these guys, they're all really good friends. They're great competitors all at the same time, and that's just really cool to see those two things happening simultaneously: friends and support and competition all at the same time. It's just really, really cool to see.
Yep, absolutely. And I, in watching both of them, watching their streams, especially these two, as well as a ton of others, I've seen them dozens and dozens of times, stop PB attempts, stop world record attempts to go over just Ninja Gaiden basics with anybody that wants to learn the game. Ninja Gaiden's a brutal game and it's super hard, but it's absolutely wonderful the amount of support that you can get, and how people will really help you get going and teach you things, no matter how good they are or up the ladder. The community has just been so nice.
Yep, 100%. So as a reminder, everybody, this is our second match of the semifinals. Retro Runner has one win. You can see that there on your screen with the spin slash, and Beer Belly's got one win. You can see that there on your screen with the swag star. So this is a best out of 3 match that's going to determine who goes on to the finals and who goes on to face Arcus in the third place race. This is the third race, so this race right here will decide who goes on to which place. And I don't know what to say. I have this. It could go either way at this point, Seamless. I really don't know. I have no insight on who's going to win this. I really don't.
Yep. If in our third weekend of doing this, if I have learned exactly one thing from this, I've learned that I have no idea what's going to happen. Every time I've made a prediction, it's been terribly wrong. And it could be anybody's game. It depends on Gaiden, really. Those little frame differences can be a different game. And, we'll see how things go as the runners come up here. We'll see who flip-flops back and forth, and they both climb. Those climbs save about 1/10 of a second, and again, changes things. As you can see, the Retro Runner frames ahead might be getting different hammers on the next stage from Beerful.
Yep, that's right. And I think this, I was saying earlier this week, I think this is probably the most competitive and the most dangerous match of all of this tournament, because you've got the highest ranked and the best competitors, the top 4, going against each other, and it's only a best of 3. So, as we just saw, one mistake, two mistake, couple bad runs, and you're out. That's it. There's no coming back from that. A best of 5 is going to average things out a little bit better, and we're going to maybe see that in the finals race and the third place round. But right here, I mean, like we've seen in the last match, and like we're seeing right here, it's all coming down to the third race, and that's an incredibly that's a lot of pressure. That's an incredibly difficult position to be in as a racer. That your whole tournament life is coming down to one race.
Absolutely, and it's super crazy. It's super tough. You come in, and after you win the first race, you think you've got a nice cushion. Well, if you don't close it out right then, you're right back to your starting race nerves again, where it's even and you've got to pull ahead. The only difference is now in race 3, your tournament life's on the line.
Yep. It's just the amount of pressure going into this race has got to be immense. As we see, they're both still locked up going into 3-1. We're pretty much neck and neck here. Everybody moving as they should. I mean, it's almost identical. It's as if these screens are mirrored.
Yep, absolutely. One of the interesting things, right? You have your little differences is in Beerful throws the fire wheel instead of using the sword to kill the guy, and he's about 10 ninpo down now. You always have to wonder, is that the plan? Did he want to miss that 5po in the beginning? Does he now have to change a little bit to try and pick up enough ninpo? As again, it's a 10 ninpo difference. How much do they want to go into the boss with at race speeds? And how much does he now have to make slight adjustments that maybe cost them down the line?
Yeah, luckily, Act 3 is by far the most forgiving as far as ninpo goes. Interesting, we saw there Retro Runner choosing not to go for the double scree, and is going to take 32 ninpo into the boss, whereas Beerful choosing to take 37. Beerful is going to have a little cushion here, whereas Retro Runner is really relying on his standard kill, and he gets it. So that'll actually give Retro Runner a slight advantage there, maybe picking up 2 or 3 tenths of a second over BFOB because he didn't have that extra ninpo. But again, a risky strat for a race, not taking a little bit extra in there just in case things go poorly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bold strategy, but again, if he's trying to do, 3 flames is 15, or 5 flames gives you 15 damage and the sword 16, you only need 25 ninpo. So coming in with 32 is an extra 5. Fearful chose the extra 10. It cost them, 0.25 seconds. And normally in a PB attempt, you just quick climb your way out of it. Each quick climb saves you 10 seconds or a tenth of a second. But when you're running against the Retro Runner, he's doing as many climbs as you are. It's, so now it's not, I got to do climbs to make up for it for a time. It's, I got to do one more climb to catch up to the Retro Runner.
That's right. Your competition is fierce here. And thank you for correcting. You pointed out that it was an extra ninpo beyond that even. So you're correct on that ninpo count.
Yep, and it's a very common thing. You never assume you're gonna hit every flame, and hoarding ninpo is the thing that I always love doing, because it's better to have too much than too little. Having an extra one, costs you 0.25. Not having enough costs you full seconds. You see the Retro Runner missed the clip, and now they're running neck and neck.
Yeah, that's costly. It's interesting that clip actually doesn't save a whole lot of time, just opposed to running over. But if you miss it, it's probably a good second or so having to jump back on. It looked like he readjusted pretty quickly there.
Yeah, absolutely. But now think about it. This is the second clip that he's missed. He missed the clip into the 6-2 ladder last race, fell to the ground. Again, missed another ladder clip and fell down to the ground. You got to wonder if that gets in your head, if you realize that, or are you just in a race and running and you don't even think about it?
Yeah, I don't know that it's going to particularly bother him, but I do wonder if it has anything to do with playing on 2 different TVs. I doubt that he's playing on that 9-inch TV right now that he's been playing on all week. And it makes me wonder, those small little visual cues, it kind of makes me wonder if some things have changed, or his muscle memory has adjusted a little bit over the last week trying to use that smaller TV, and he's having to readjust sort of on the fly right now.
Yep, and that's really the question, right? Does it throw you off? Because I know he said there were some visual cues that he couldn't quite see and was still kind of operating off some muscle memory and some things like that. And does he now go back to the big TV and be like, hey man, I can see every pixel, this is great? Or does it now everything's so big and his eyes and where he's used to putting his eyes has changed a little due to the size of the new TV? It's
right.
super
Did he
tough.
take the weight off the bat and it helps, or does it hurt?
Exactly. And it's, you know, so far he's been running pretty well. I can't say that it specifically hurt him. You know, his visual cues seem to have been spot on.
Well, he's pulled ahead a little bit because he went for double bird boost in 5-1 and nailed it, whereas BFOB chose to hang back and single bird boost. And that probably picked up. He's a good 2 seconds ahead here, although having issues there with the lemon drop screen.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see, you know, skipping the health. He's got 1 health left. He can't SP boost now.
Wow, this is huge. That's a big deal right here. There is a backup to get through there without the SP boost. I've got to assume he knows it, but he's back behind Beer. We have a lead change. We have a big lead change.
Absolutely, and that's, you know, and Fearful in the lead and has the ability to SP boost. So for those of you that don't know, probably myself included, what is the backup to get around the SP boost?
So you got to spin here. See, he knows it. If you spin right there at that middle, oh my goodness, he fell off. He got hit by the bird.
Oh no, and his game locked up. It looks like a soft lock.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, that's insane. Of all the things that we tried to plan for, soft lock wasn't one of them.
Oh my goodness. I mean, wow, this has happened to him before in PB attempts. It'll be interesting to see what BFOB does here. We got to assume, I mean, so Retro Wonder would have been a good 20 seconds back at this point. If we let BFOB run this out and he doesn't die or he runs on pace, you have to assume he would have taken the W anyway.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I've learned, of, if anything, is we gotta go and figure out the rule set. We'll probably run this out. We'll see how BFOB does. We'll see, you know, how it's looking time-wise. And, you know, if he does die to the demon or whatever it is, we may need a rerun. But let's see how this finishes out. And then we'll take a quick be right back, and we'll have to go and scrap together a run. Or scrap together a rule.
I gotta agree. If BFOB isn't able to finish this out without significant error, you know, if he's able to, sorry, I was just looking at Retro Runner's post in the stream there to see what he's saying, to see if he said anything about it. But if BFOB is able to close this out without any sort of error, you had to assume he was going to win anyway because he would be so far ahead at this point. But if he has any sort of error or dies anywhere, we may have to do a rerun here.
Exactly. It's tough to know, and that's the thing, you know, if he dies on the demon, if he takes, you know, even like a big enough death, we'll have to look back, you know, see about how far behind he was at the death, and take a look at it. But for now, let's just watch the end of this. Let's see how Beerful does. I'm curious to see. I don't know if he's following the broadcast or not, if he's aware of the soft lock. But this is of all the things we planned for and we talked about. I think I commented or cursed myself when I said if I've learned anything, it's that I'm not prepared for anything. I think I jinxed myself.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we had in the planning stage, I remember talking about stream errors, what happens if somebody's stream goes down. We suggested local recording, etc. But soft lock wasn't. I don't think that's something that we put in the rules there. Looks like, again, though, BFOB, he had a little bit of an issue getting hit by that hammer, but adjusted to it really well, worked his way through 6 without a whole lot of issues, going into Jackio here. See how he ends these boss fights.
Yep, absolutely. And I think, you know, with Beerful, with the standard, the 2.5 cycle Jackio, I think the biggest question is how nice are those shrimp going to be? And, you know, he skipped the tail in the first one, or in the second one, killed it in the first one. We'll see what he does here, if he stays safe or if he goes for the tail skip. Oh, looks like he's gonna stay safe.
Yep.
All right. Yep, we're wrapping it up. Yep, Beerful goes, and we'll wait for the official time.
It's like a 12:03. That's a pretty darn good time there for that run. I gotta, you know, I think what we do here, to be honest, Seamless, is I think we have to go. I think we'll go to a be right back screen. I think we'll discuss this and see what we need to do. It looked to me like that was a an insurmountable lead that BFOB had there. I don't think Retro could have come back from that, but I think we do at least need to discuss it with the racers and figure out what we do from here, and make sure that Retro Runner is able, if this is a W for BFOB, make sure Retro Runner is able to participate in the third place race against Arcus.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And just to make sure, again, I think I am leaning the same way as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to go and cut to a quick break. We're going to discuss with all the admin teams just to make sure. And then we'll come back and we'll let you guys know. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, guys, for more NRL. All right, guys, as you can see, we sat and we talked to each of the racers, brought them up to speed on it, and both racers did agree that the Retro Runner was probably out of the race at that point and conceded. So we are going to go, and Beerful is going to take that semifinals match 2-1. So our finals coming up is going to be Beerful of Belly versus Knucklebuster for the championship. But before that, our third place match of the Retro Runner versus Arcus is going to be coming up first. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to get set up for that match, and we'll see you guys soon. Guys, welcome back to our third place match. For our third place match, Arcus versus the Retro Runner, we're going to have our commenting team of Retrophile TV and Perfect Finn. So, Retrophile, go ahead, take it away.
Hello, everybody. It's me back in the booth here. Figured I'd stop by for the championships here. We're going to be doing the bronze match, the dream bout that I know that myself and a lot of all of us were expecting to see between Arcus and the Retro Runner. And two good friends going at it here should be a really great time. This one should be one for the ages and one to really enjoy. Get us set up for those finals coming up. Perfect Finn, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Hey Retro, I'm doing great, man. This has been an awesome event to watch and to commentate so far this evening. We are getting the match that I think everyone wanted to see, but not quite in the fashion that we expected to see it. Two of the arguably the best Ninja Gaiden runners in the world currently going head to head. Arcus, the current any percent world record holder, and Retro Runner just nipping at his heels. And I think that everybody wanted to see these two titans of the game pair up against each other, and we got it. And I'm very excited to see how it pans out.
And this is definitely a pay-per-view quality match that we have here. The main event, but in this case, only the warm-up for the finals, curiously enough. Obviously, it has to be said here that Arcus definitely been going in on Ninja Gaiden 2, but still, an old legend, hands down, has clearly made it this far through 23 very fantastic and skilled ninjas up to this point. And Retro Runner finds himself up against a cowboy and a friend. So this is going to be a good time regardless at the end of the day. This is not something where both are going for blood and trying to make a name for themselves. I think, honestly, this is a wonderful moment for all of us.
No, absolutely agreed. And you put it best, and I think that's something that, Retro said to Arcus in the race chat was, it's an honor to race against you, cowboy friend. So I think that, both of them very much love and appreciate this game and the work that each other have put in. And I think either would be happy to see them, take that third place position.
Agreed. And here we are, folks. We are underway on this one. So, fun thing to note, this is not a best of 3. This is a best of 5, as both matches, both this one and the finals, will be. So we'll have plenty of time for them to dig into it then. So if a stray Godhammer should happen, it won't entirely decide the series at the end of the day here. But stage 1 is off and away for us going to the bar. Arcus and Retro Runner in tandem. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one pans out. They've both had very difficult nights this evening.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of strat selection we'll see from both runners. I'd be interested to see if, they kind of just go for like straight PB attempt strategies at this point, because there's not a whole lot on the line. I think both of them, understand that they're having fun at this point. I'd be interested to see if we're going for butt clinch cliff or things of that nature.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think that honestly, this one should be a little less pressure for them compared to where they were trying to get their spot in the finals, and now this is kind of where they've landed. And they both kind of just like pick the controller back up, saying, "Okay, let's do this. Let's go out there, have some fun with it." And we'll see how things work out on our side here as we're going through stage 2.
Yeah, stage 2, we talked about this previously, kind of the silent run killer. There's a lot of micro optimizations that can be had in the stage through movement and things of that nature. You'll see here Arcus going for this swag star strategy, clears out all of the enemies on the screen. Ooh, except when you take a costly knockback like that. But the cool thing about the swag star is it lets him do that little maneuver there on the ladder. You see Retro do the same thing, where you get some free fall time and you skip actually climbing down the ladder. It's a lot quicker. And that's the kind of optimizations we're looking for here in 2-1 and 2-2 that really add up over the course of the act.
Right, you are there, Finn. So, but we will say that Retro Runner, I can know, is probably telling himself, don't go for the frame perfect free fall, where he tries to actually go through the transition and frame perfectly grab on the ladder, because if you're one frame either too early or too late, I think that's the frame perfect death. That you end up getting there where, Ryu kind of gets tangled up in the ladder and dies. But that being said, 2-2 done. Pretty uneventful, thankfully, on that, kind of following the script. Coming into Bomberhead here with spin slash no big deal, and stage 3 looming ahead.
Yeah, I think that outside of a really timely God Hammer on that stage, it should look uneventful. It should look, exactly like that. And I think it's difficult to say because we didn't catch the sync this time, but I think they're probably about neck and neck at this point.
That seems like correct to me, hands down. I mean, we're hoping that won't come down to a direct thing. Well, right there, we're seeing Arcus taking a knockback, and basically we're getting things basically synced back up. So thank you, Arcus, for doing us a favor and getting things synced back up for us. Very good. But nonetheless, we will see if it gets to the point where we have to do a frame count. We do have our admins in the back there, Ultra Minimalist and Black Squall. Thank you very much for your assistance throughout this. That can help us out. But coming into 3-2, I'm curious to know if both of them are going to have some fun with this, and maybe we'll see some more risky strats and kind of leaving some of the blood on the table in the process here. But if not, they'll just follow the race route and just try to put on a good show for all of us here, which I think this is what we're really glad to see that it worked out this way.
Right. Yeah, both runners already opting to skip the double bird boosters. Retro Runner lovingly calls it the double scree. Be interested to see if either of them go for the butt clinch. Arcus does his patented wait. Retro goes for a slightly riskier, slightly quicker damage boost strategy. Neither of them opting for the scary 4 and 2 frame butt clinch cliff trick.
Oh, Arcus missing the standard kill on that one. Now, again, the name being deceptively difficult for it. Very tight timings, and Retro Runner just basically dialing it in as if it's automatic.
Yeah, I mean, if I was paid for how much time I've spent watching both of these guys practice that boss fight, I'd be an incredibly rich man. But to them, it's like programming a VCR at this point. They have those patterns, those movements memorized, locked into their muscle memory, and can execute with such incredible perfection. You see Arcus and Retro Runner here moving through 4-1. See how many quick climbs we can get on these long ladders. Arcus looking a little bit slower than Retro.
I have to comment really quick. I'm not going to let that comment slide there, Finn, but programming a VCR is also an equally difficult task. But I guess if you know what you're doing, you can make it look easy. But I mean, this is why all of our VCRs when we were kids flashed 12 for God knows how long. That being said, into 4-2, here we go. Retro Runner Arcus. If there was any question where Retro Runner was falling at this point, he is out in front. Based on what we were seeing with the delay, but able to pull out in front here at this point. So again, we'll see what happens toward the end, but up and on the bridge, and Finn, I don't think they're stopping for anyone at this point.
No, absolutely not. And Retro, the first one to tell you, or to show you rather, how to charge up the view, as we see him take a nice damage boost here off the Pickle Ninja to get up that ladder just a little bit faster. Both runners now moving to 4-3. I really like this stage. This is probably my personal favorite stage in the run. There's a lot of neat tricks here that add up over the course of the stage, but none of them are too terribly difficult. So we shouldn't see a death here. We might see the occasional knockback, but we do have one of the largest time saves in the entire run coming up. There's a really cool bullet boost at the end of the screen, which lets us skip a long ladder and save a lot of time. We see both runners approaching this now.
And excellently demonstrated by Retro Runner and Arcus in succession there. Definitely an easy one to pick up and learn. Just basically keep holding right, keep jumping, and get your slashes in, and you pretty much got it. And it looks really nice, and you skip the hammer bro at the bottom down there. And here we come into the doggos, as Fab would say, or Kelberos is what we're going up against. And one of them being fake, one of them being the one we want to kill. But the good news is it's the one closest to the door, so you can just let go of the D-pad, press A then B, and instant win with Spin Slash.
Yep. Now we're moving in. Now the run really begins, Retrophile, as we move into what most of the community lovingly refers to as the rage stage. This is a very difficult stage. There's a lot of very tight frame windows, some cool tricks that can add up for some good time saves over the course of the act. But yeah, there's a lot of health management, ninpo management, and so many pits to fall into.
Yeah, this screen is a long stretch of just absolute danger throughout. We're seeing some interesting thing though, where both runners kind of got hung up on some of their climbs. We see some variation in strategy where Arcus doing the flipping and a flopping, whereas Retro Runner having some difficulties here. Arcus taking the lead actually at the end of 5-1. I didn't catch what the decisive factor was on that offhand, but here we are into 5-2.
Yeah, I think the Retro Runner just took a knockback, got a little hung up. Arcus opted for some slightly safer strategies. I saw him stop and throw a swag star to clear out some enemies, which I like. You know, if you're going to get caught up in a bunch of enemies, and you know, like I said previously, 5-1, 5-2, 5-3, they're so incredibly tight on both health and ninpo, and you can't really give anything away for free. So I like Arcus's strategy to say, hey, I want to preserve my health here, play it safe, and to go ahead and swag star through.
Speaking of a mixture of strategies there, we saw Arcus kind of going up there over top, whereas Retro Runner opting to get the health and then also go for the lemon drop as opposed to the up and over on that side. So it saved a little bit of time, but gave up a little bit of time to go for the health and process. Into 5-3, the climb up to Malth. Overall, not too bad for either people, but Retro Runner I think will shine here. His climbs definitely pretty good, and you know, like you said, I think you're the one that said you can set the watch to them. Arcus opting to go for some mixing in some climbs here and there, getting the SP boost. Retro Runner about to do the same as well. Very clean, just 2 quick climbs and kind of flip over and you're good to go. This screen is deceptively difficult. I bring this up anytime that if you are just late on some of your inputs, you'll take that. Oh, Arc is getting Godhammer, then stuck on the wall in a very strange way, getting hung up.
He's getting beat up. That was very close.
Health not looking too great, but thankfully Malth is a pushover. And look at this, we are lined back up again. That was, I don't think I've ever seen that before. That was quite interesting, getting stuck on the wall and Arcus was just caught in the vortex and I really couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, there's a really tight jump there actually to clear a bird to get through there. And the problem is you get stuck on that wall trying to clear the bird, and then the hammer bro starts trolling you. So you're kind of dealing, you're dealing with multiple enemies at once and you don't have really any space to maneuver. So once you get hung up, it can be really difficult to find your way out of there. And, Arcus, like we saw, just narrowly escaping with 1 health. A death there would have been so costly. It would have been difficult to come back from.
I'm absolutely loving the narrative behind this one here. We're neck and neck going into 6-2 at this point after some very strange moments overall. A little back boost there from Arcus as well, but we're pretty much lined up into this. But this is arguably one of the toughest stretches of the game. Oh, another back boost there from the jetpack ninja, unfortunately. Kind of a scary moment. Retro Runner getting the jetpack boost, whereas Arcus opting just to quick climb up the ladder here. So Arcus playing catch up here against Retro Runner coming through 6-2. It's gonna be a mad dash to the end at this point. What's your thought about this here, Finn?
Watching Retro Runner's climbs here at the long ladder. I really want to see 8 climbs. I want to see 8 wall climbs from him on that long ladder. If he hits 8, he's feeling it. He's in his element. And I do believe he hit 7 or 8. So I think he's feeling good. I think his hands feel good. I think he's playing well. And if that's any indication of the technical skill that'll carry into the final boss battles, I like his odds.
Yeah, looking good. Both of them finishing things up here on to 6-3, the final stretch of the game. And the back boost from that bat, unfortunately. Oh, Retro Runner getting hung up there for a second, not actually getting on top of the pillar to actually do the climbs up. And that actually opens the door a little bit for Arcus to close the gap, which he has.
Yeah, Arcus been making some uncharacteristic mistakes here and there, just a miss slash, getting stuck on a wall, etc., which has kind of slowly added up over the course of the run. But Retro has also had some issues with some of the wall climbs, things of that nature. So kind of both equaling out here to where it's all going to come down to the final bosses once again, which is honestly, as a spectator and a commentator, exactly where I want to be. I love moving into this moment, just having no idea who's going to walk home with this.
Yes, looking really good there. Nice Beerful belly boost from Retro Runner there. Spin slash, the clown nose, 2 bosses to go. Obviously, both runners are very capable of doing a center or plate kill in this case, but Arcus, I know, has been kind of going with the left-hand kills a little bit, or a modification of that. So let's see how things work out.
Retro gets
Nice
the plate. Yeah. That should kind of seal the deal here. Arcus kind of getting hung up in the flame. Ooh, getting really hung up in the flames.
That's a scary moment. All that remains here, Retro Runner have to close out the demon. 2 jump on the head, opting not to kill the tail, just going in for trying to get that perfect pair. Getting mash locked, but does close it out. Retro Runner going to be taking the first one on this one with a beautiful plate kill. And Arcus here having a little dance with the shrimp here, trying to kill the tail in the process, but well done for Retro Runner closing that out. Kind of scary on the demon. I heard you kind of like kind of holding your breath there for a second, but a nice run overall there. Congratulations to Retro Runner. We're gonna get confirmation on times here.
Yeah, big respect to Retro Runner for just saying, you know what, I know what I'm about. I know why I'm here. I don't need to kill the tail. I've proven all I need to prove. He just goes in. I like it. It was a little risky, but I think like I said, both of them respect each other very much, and they're here for a good time. And I think that Retro Runner wanted to be true to himself and use strategies that he finds fun and he finds rewarding, and he went ahead and went for it, and it paid off.
Okay, so it looks like the sync was a little out of whack, as was called out to, because the final times, as reported by our admins here, TRR is between 11:53 and 11:54. So a sub 12 from TRR to Arcus is 12:14. So very much a decisive victory in the Retro Runner's hands there. Well played. Glad to see him bounce back from a difficult situation overall, but glad to see two guys out here just, having fun. Two ninjas doing their thing for us, for all of us to enjoy.
Yeah, and the great thing is we have potentially 4 more games. Moving forward, these are all going to be best of 5. So, a 1-game lead at this point. It's not quite the momentum that we saw in the best of 3 from prior. So, still, I have no idea who can win this. I, love both of these streamers and these runners very much. I've been watching both of them for a number of years, and I would not be surprised to see either of them take it down. So Retrophile, if you're Arcus or if you're Retro Runner, are there any adjustments that you would make moving forward into the next race? Anything that stood out to you from their perspective that they might be cognizant of moving forward?
It's kind of interesting that you bring that up. I didn't see anything like really egregious on either side that I would say, I really got to tighten that up. I really need to change that, or I really need to do something different. It's just minor things, hands down. Like, we saw a lot of the time loss on Arcus's side was getting hung up in 5-3 like that. Like, that was pretty rough. Retro Runner had some difficulty in 5-1. This game is like, playing at this level, it's not major things you need to change, just little tiny things you have to tighten up or focus on consistencies here. Basically, all you need to avoid in this game at this level that we're seeing here is death by paper cuts.
Yeah, I would agree. I think most of the mistakes were very minor. Like you said, getting caught on the occasional wall, missing the occasional sword strike, things of that nature. I will say I would like to see Arcus go for a standard demon kill moving forward. I think there he might have known that he was a little behind, and also didn't like the demon shrimp pattern, so opted to just play that safety so he could finish out the run. But I think moving forward, if he wants to be competitive, we talked about this previously, I would say Retro Runner, even though he does not have the current any % world record, I think he puts up the fastest times the most consistently. So if you're gonna play against the speed demon, I think you need to use some slightly more aggressive strategies.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment on that side. And I mean, both of these runners combined have an extreme amount of experience and knowledge with the game. So being able to possibly, you read the tea leaves, but in this case, read the shrimp and be able to kind of determine how you want to tackle the demon. If you didn't like it, we did see Arcus kind of take a step back and dance back and forth a little bit, kind of deciding, hey, do I want to jump in and go after it, but opting to kill the tail. It just may have been one of those reads, just kind of seeing it where it stood and what was going to happen with it. So again, not major changes that have to happen here. Maybe Arcus has to step up and be a little more aggressive with it, possibly. But Retro Runner had a heck of a pace there from what it looked like. Against anything sub 12 in a race, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. I don't think either of them are probably, disgruntled with their previous performance. I don't think that, either of them are in their head at this point, questioning how they're going to approach the next race. I think, both of them are kind of going to stick to the script that they know moving forward. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if either of them won this next one. I hope that we have something that was just as close as what we just witnessed.
Well, speaking about close here, the seamless sync is back in effect here. We've got this in play. Very nicely done here, Arcus and Retro. No question now who's going to be in the lead on this one out of the gate here, as they are having a nice choreographed stage 1 together. You love to see it brought together in such a way. Again, the camaraderie between the two, nothing but absolute respect. There's always been talk in the community or those that are new to it about Retro Runner going for a world record. Well, what does Arcus think about this? What's going on with that? There's no drama there. There's nothing but absolute respect and camaraderie and support from both, and you love to see it. You really, really do.
Yeah, I think that's something that we talked about a little bit earlier during the broadcast, but I think a popular misconception about speedrunning, especially within, this community with this, kind of, like you said, what a lot of people would refer to as a rivalry between Arcus and Retro Runner. It's not really quite that at all. They're homies, and this is more about, us pushing the game together. And I think that Arcus and Retro Runner both deep down know that and want that not only for themselves but for each other. Everyone wants to just see each other improve and take the game as far as we can, and I think that this is such a great example of that.
It really is, and that is the absolute right mentality to have into it. We're all coming out here just having fun at the end of the day, trying to relieve stress and have ourselves a good time, and also put on a great show. And when you have levels of competition like this, it brings out the best in everybody. And that's what we really hope to see. That being said, 2-1 looking pretty good. Arcus with a slight lead over Retrunner going into this. Again, 2-2. Hopefully it will be uneventful. No God Hammers based on the cycles that we're seeing here. But both runners putting on a good show for us here, and you love to see what we got here. So Arcus taking it pretty safe. Retrunner a little more aggressive on that fall. Maybe catching up again. So, and you can confirm for me here, Finn, that the gravity that adds on to Ryu, I mean, he doesn't really hit terminal velocity right away. Like, there is a little bit of a delay to that. Oh, unfortunately, Arcus missing the bat boost, having to get that back. Retrorunner taking the lead in that process. But anyway, so Retrorunner waiting a little bit longer there. He did gain a little bit of time on Arcus by having that little additional of the fall velocity to work with there, even if he was just dropping there.
Yeah, and any time spent on a ladder in this game is bad time spent. Ladders are your slowest movement speed. You're always going to move faster if you're running or jumping, being in the air. That's why we're focused on those wall climbs and those free falls. We don't really want to spend any time climbing. It's just the slowest move speed possible. So I like seeing Retro kind of once again be true to himself and take some of those risks, play some of those more aggressive strategies. Fabricator and I were talking about that a little bit earlier this evening. We're talking about the fastest PB versus race experience or race strategies, and I think Retro an incredibly talented any percent PB runner, but he doesn't have quite the race pedigree that somebody like Knucklebuster does. And so I love seeing Retro Runner play more aggressive strategies in race scenarios. Yes, there's a risk associated with that, but I think there's also an unspoken benefit to playing true to your heart. I think people are going to perform their best when they use the strategies that best express themselves, if that makes sense. And I think they don't have that limitation imposed on them, and I think that people perform better under those circumstances.
So I've talked about this before in some previous commentary that you get this muscle memory, you accumulate this script in your mind that you kind of run through, and you know what to tackle when certain things present themselves. And the biggest thing about speedrunning is to not think. It's to just rely on the reactions of what you know, what to expect, what to go through. You know what's going to be coming at this point, and you can adapt to other things. But having that knowledge, having that script to go back to, you're going to go with what's comfortable. Again, being true to yourself, like you said. So yeah, there may be some slight modifications here. Obviously, we don't see anyone going for butt clench cliff unless their name's Razul. And in these races here, because it's such a minor time save for such a huge risk. I mean, 3-1, such a long walk all the way back through. But that being said, yeah, staying true to yourself, staying on that script that you're comfortable with, and giving yourself that shot at consistency. Even if your script is naturally aggressive, we know that it's no secret. Retrorunner doing the world record attempts, he has that muscle memory ingrained in him, and going far beyond that and trying to do everything safe would actually prove to be a detriment to him, not only for competitive nature, but also just for his own muscle memory that he has. He would be fighting himself in the process.
Right. I totally agree. We see both runners moving here into the beginning of 4-2. Retro Runner has a little bit of lead here. Got a little caught up there on the hammer rows. That's okay. He built himself a nice lead. Arcus struggled a little bit with the Act 3 boss, the Massacre kill, which kind of put Retro just a little out in front here, and see if he can kind of continue to step on the gas and maybe increase this lead.
Like you said before, Finn, stage 4 doesn't really present too many major opportunities, especially in 4-3 here, for time save and time loss. It just comes down to just executing properly and getting those very nice looking clean time saves as best as you can. But this is the calm before the proverbial storm when we have stage 5 coming with the race stage. Oh, Ark is getting caught up there for a second as well. And so, I mean, you can bleed time, but as far as gaining time here, not so much. Oh, getting a knockback as well. Just some uncharacteristic things that we're seeing here in the process. But stage 5 still looming large here very soon as we see Retrorunner about to step into Kel'Garos's chamber.
Yeah, I was afraid Arcus was going to make us stick our foot in our mouth for a second there. I was like, one of the reasons that I love, 4-3 so much is, like I talked about previously, there's some really neat, rewarding tricks. But if you miss them, they're typically just time loss. You're typically not going to take a death. But yeah, we saw Arcus kind of get hung up there, missed either a spin slash or a sword cancel on that gunner enemy on top of that pillar, and he almost didn't make it out.
Kind of a scary little moment there, and even stuff like that can be kind of jarring to you, as you don't expect to see that happen. You've gone through this, hundreds of thousands of times in a way, and you just get something like that just kind of catches you off guard. Oh, well, I got knocked back. I gotta restart that. Like I said, that script. You have to go back a step and then kind of get back into the groove of things. But when things are flowing, oh my goodness, Retro Runner getting a knockback, walking in there. I don't know if he had a chance to swing the sword, if that was a cottage cheese sword that happened there, or if it just didn't happen. But that is huge. That is absolutely massive.
Yeah, it looked like he was setting up for the double bird boost, or the first boost rather of the double bird boost. And the trick to lining up that boost is you really want to get as close to that enemy as possible, because it manipulates the bird to take a favorable flight pattern for the boost itself. But yeah, it looked like he just got too close and didn't slash and just took a backwards knockback, and that was all she wrote.
It's amazing how small things like that can have big consequences, and there's no real way to kind of take that safe if you want to go with that strat. Like you said, you have to line it up in such a way, and that's the penalty of it. Now, Retro Runner is definitely not out of it at this point, but that definitely opens the door for Arcus, and we are getting ourselves closer and closer and closer to that long 5-game marathon that I think pretty much everyone's hoping. They want to see this match go on for as long as possible.
No, I'm totally here for that. And I think it's important to highlight, like you said, that death is not race ending. I know that, Retro Runner is behind a considerable amount at this point, but as we've seen throughout this evening, it is still very much anybody's race. I've seen Arcus take a death on the demon tonight, so I would not count out the Retro Runner just yet.
Yeah, this is not insurmountable for him. I mean, he ran things back very well, even in that round where he took the God Hammer and basically played cleanly until the end. He cut into a fairly massive lead that we saw, I believe it was Beerful had at the time, and it was pretty massive. And so if he keeps playing consistently, I think he can close the gap here. And even if there's small mistakes on Arcus's side, that will open the door for Retro Runner on this point here. But Malt about to be going down here on Arcus's side. Just jump forward, spin, slash, and get ready. Embrace yourself for stage 6.
Be interested to see if Retro Runner decides to spawn the ghost of Beerful Belly here as a Arcus throwback from earlier this evening. I doubt he will, but it'd be heartwarming to say the least. He just moved straight into the mouth fight, which I also respect.
Yeah, that's a little tricky for what it's worth. I've tried to spawn that myself, and you have to be in a very specific spot for that to happen. And I think you have to do like that little backwards backflip thing for it to have happen as well. So it's very counterintuitive and awkward. So if you're not comfortable doing, I can understand not doing it. I don't think that's a slight by any means.
Sure. So Arcus moving into 6-2 here. This is arguably one of the most difficult screens in the entire game, if I'm being honest. You see Arcus using this swag star in a really neat way to kind of protect himself as much as possible, both from enemies and from hammer patterns. Did a really good job. He got hung up a little bit, but we can see him grab the spin slash and just kind of make quick work of the jetpack ninjas. And we'll see Retro Runner kind of move into the screen and do the same thing.